I look up to the skies above. The clouds are dark and the sun is hiding behind them, the leaves finally beginning to change color. An omen of change, good or bad, I'm not sure. It's been getting harder to tell what the winter will bring here in Jeema the past few years. The other possibility is that the weather was always like this, but the fickle, young human mind, lost in the spirits of the holidays that come with the season, may only choose to associate those memories with snow. Whatever the case, this omen of change will only be shown as time progresses and snow falls heavily. Or doesn't. I shift my attention away from the changing of colors in the brewing skies and notice Toru walking to school ahead of me, so I sprint to catch up to her. "Hey, Toru!" I yell out. Toru jolts in response and quickly whips her body around. The moment she recognizes me, her body relaxes. "Oh, you startled me, Ichigo," Toru responded. "Thanks to your help, I do." She lets out a half smile and slows down her walking pace to let me catch up. It surprises me a little to hear her talk without stuttering. Over the week, Toru and I ate lunch together and walked home together every day. She was a lot more talkative whenever we were away from school. Jeema isn't very populated, but it seems that just talking or interacting with someone she doesn't know really puts her on edge. We don't talk much after I catch up to her, only the occasional spark of conversation. Even in the silence, there lies no tension or awkwardness in the air between us. It feels almost natural to be by Toru, and to be silent. The feeling ruses something deep within me, almost akin to a warning. My feet stop at my front door, listening to what my gut says before my brain even has time to react to the feeling. Even though this feeling seems to have no basis for suddenly popping up in me, its intensity is unmistakable. Without opening the door, the feeling crawls through my skin. My hand lightly presses against the cold steel of the door handle as dread suffocates me. The door creaks lightly as it slowly opens. I can barely discern two muffled voices arguing upstairs. In the 18 years I've been the son of my two parents, never once have I heard them argue. Never once in this tone. The shock sends a chill down my spine and causes my heart to sink. Rather obviously, nothing good could come from this situation. I quietly creep to the door of their room in an attempt to listen in on their conversation. Their voices carry both heavy concern and sadness. "It's something we should be worried about." "I know, sweetie, but we can't let Ichigo know. God knows what'll happen to any kid if they hear something like this is happening. Maybe we should start walking with him to make sure I accidentally hit the door. "I'm home," I call out. My parents go quiet for a moment, and in that moment of silence, my mouth dries up. Anxiety overwhelms me, but before I fall into panic, my parents open the door and act as if nothing had happened, likely in a dire hope that I had not heard them or what they were talking about. The normal tone of voice that they both usually carry. But the looks on their faces aren't very well hidden. Their eyebrows both furrowed, their bodies still stiff, gazes averted from me. I make a swift exit to enter a world with which I can escape, or just lie to myself that what I had experienced was an anomaly, hoping that it will remain as a one-time experience. As though to support me in this endeavor, today is Friday, leaving the rest of this weekend to allow me to quest to my heart's content. My mind floats back to Toru with the thought of video games. That's it, I think to myself. She only mentioned it in passing. Oddly enough, she seemed to hesitate unconsciously before mentioning a game she recently enjoyed. I keep the thought in mind as I begin to while away the rest of my day. I lie in bed as I try to give myself the will to give up. What the fuck? I lie in bed as I try to give myself the will to get up, yet no such luck. My usual ideas of relaxation don't seem all too enticing to me. Yet again, I feel a wave of impulsion wash over me. I want to hang out with Toru. This desire devours me, yet I still haven't allowed myself to go. I never got Toru's number, and I don't exactly want to show up to her house unannounced, even if she was okay with it. I doubt her parents would be happy with a guy they don't know suddenly entering their house. How natural it feels to be with Toru is what convinces me to head over to her place, and at least ask. What's the worst that could happen, right? So I tell my parents I'll be visiting a friend and head off. Given that I haven't spent much time with friends outside of school for so many months now as I have, my parents are surprised. Just be careful and be wary of the bad weather, my mom calls out. I affirm to her that I'll be fine and start heading on my way. Rain falls so lightly that it almost feels like a light mist or fog as I leave my house. I just hope it doesn't begin to pour before I get over there. Or even if it does, that Tora at least lets me in her house. Once I get to her place, I knock on the door, though quite hesitantly. I contemplate if I should even be here, but the same unique and weird feeling inside me from earlier drives me to knock on the door. I stand on her front porch in anticipation for what seems to be an eternity until it opens, and I am met with a not so familiar face. After a moment, the realization hit me. It was Toru, just without her bangs covering most of her face. Toru dons a look of surprise upon seeing me. I was hoping that you would want to hang out for a while today. The knot in my stomach gets tighter after I ask the question. Regret begins to build up in me. Sorry for not asking you beforehand. However, to my surprise, she responded, I suppose I don't mind. Come in. I gladly oblige and take a step inside of her house, leaving the gloomy weather and what sounds like the speeding up of the pitter-pattering of the rain behind me. Taking a quick look around, I notice one other person in the house, a tall man with short, blonde hair. He's wearing a suit of a material that seems so high quality and expensive that he doesn't really seem like he fits in at Jeema. His facial structure heavily resembles Toru's. The slightly chubby cheeks, round nose, and heavy, deep red eyes. Hey, Toru, is this a friend of yours? If so, I'm glad to see you're already making friends, he said in a soft yet deep tone. I look back to Toru, whose eyes met mine, though she swiftly turns her head the other way. Unsure of what to do, I stand still in the hallway, keeping my gaze on Toru and away from her father, and ask, You wanna go play some video games? Without delay, Toru flips her head and looks back at me, her eyes glowing, but also looking surprised that I asked her. Sure, let's just head up to my room. Quickly, we both leave her dad behind as he keeps his eyes on me, judging my character even after I leave his sight. I can't help but finding it surprising, or odd, that he made no attempt to stop me from going with his daughter alone. Toru's room is nothing that I imagined it would be like. She has every current gen console and a PC. It was like a gamer haven. She doesn't have much in terms of decoration. Her walls are painted beige with no posters. She has what seems to be a queen-size bed pitted in the corner of the room opposite the door, with her TV stand and game consoles against the wall opposite her bed, as well as a bookshelf mostly filled with game cases and, of course, a few books. Do you think it's weird? She whispered, still hiding her face. A girl playing games. I don't think it's weird at all. I think it's cool that we both share the same hobby, I say earnestly. I don't know why she'd think it's weird anyways. Gaming is pretty normal. Toru seemed happy to hear my response, hopping over to her Xbox and turning it on. There's a game on here that pretty much requires two people, called It Takes Two, if you're okay with playing that, she said. She seemed a lot happier and a lot less stressed, so I agreed. Seeing her face light up like it did made my heart flutter, and I feel my face flush a little. I shake my head and quickly dismiss it. It was my phone that eventually broke my focus on Toru and the game. A text from my mom asking if I was having fun and when I plan on coming back home. I don't want to leave, but I don't want to overstay my welcome, per se. I did arrive unannounced and all, so I take a glance at the time. 1 p.m. It is a little after lunch, so I could head back home, or just stay here and eat with Toru. I don't want to leech off her and her father, which is the only other factor that clouds my judgment.